Having a good time in studio with Jason Hedin, executive chef at the Florentine. He's on Hell's Kitchen, and he's not nearly the bastard we thought he was from watching the show.
You are
Turns out he's
one
a
of the
good guy.
nicest people.
I mean, it depends on the day.
That's creative editing is what that is.
When the cameras come on, is it like
gosh.
switch flips?
It's National Pizza Month.
It is.
And you should get to the Florentine anytime, but no time better than this time. I haven't seen this studio. This team is excited about a guest in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
So Nick and I are just going to back up. Andrea, Miranda, Tom, fire away. Go.
All right, tell us about Hell's Kitchen. I want some of the backstories, because what we see, you're so sweet and so nice, but on the show, you might not have the same persona.
I mean, there's a professional version of me and there's a personal version of me. And it's an edited show. I mean, not to say that the things that come out of my mouth aren't coming out of my mouth. I mean, you should hear the things that don't come out of my mouth. It's a whole different story. But, deep down, it is a competition. So I'm pushing myself and I'm pushing the people around me.
Right.
But it can get extreme. But still, in the end, I care. I want to do a good job. I want to put up good food. And, it's hospitality, and we want to provide great hospitality for our guests. So when people are, standing around talking, not working hard, I'm like, yo, let's go.
Let's go.
What are you doing? Move.
Yeah, you're a perfectionist.
Exactly. And we're professionals. And, in professional kitchens, no one's standing around. No one is talking. No one is just leaning. You're moving.
Next question, Tom. Lightning round.
All right. With the popularity of a show like The Bear, right? I'm guessing you've seen it?
Oh,
yeah. Still waiting for my $10,000 in tomato cans.
Exactly.
Right.
That's where the money is stored.
Uh-huh.
But with the popularity of that show and getting people interested again in the kitchen and the real kitchen life, do you think that show is accurate in the way that everybody's that intense all the time? Or is it just painting a totally incorrect picture?
No, I think it's extremely accurate. I mean,
But how can you have a kitchen that's that dysfunctional? I know that you're the lead nut. You're supposed to be the lead nut. You're the artist. You're the guy there. But to have everybody screaming at everybody and everybody into their own thing, how does it even work?
I mean, so in most professional settings, and if you look at the kitchen he comes from, 11 Madison Park in New York, it's not like that at all.
Right.
But when you come to these not as high-end kitchens where people aren't as classically trained and people talk back and people have all this attitude, and he's trying to bring that culture into that sort of environment, and it just takes time.
Mm-hmm.
In the second season, he throws his cousin or whatever over at the fine dining restaurant, and there's this massive click, and there's this massive realization of what he's trying to accomplish in the establishment.
With the forks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, and that is Curtis Duffy's restaurant.
So do you like it, or is it just pure entertainment?
Like the show?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I like it a lot.
Oh, you do? Okay, good. Well, let's focus on you. Let's go back to Miranda. Lightning round continues.
What is Gordon Ramsay like? Is he as mean as he is on TV, or is he nice?
Great question.
No, he's an amazing chef. He's an amazing person. He really wants the best out of us. And, in high-intensity environments, you need to be pushed. And he's there to push us to see our breaking limit. Either, we break or we rise up and we step up and we do a better job. And he's looking for a leader. And that's his way of discerning who's leader quality and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
Back to Andrea. And Nick, if you have something, raise your hand, because I'm trying to stay out of the way of the lightning round here.
I find what you do fascinating. I think you have one of the coolest jobs in the entire world, because obviously we all like to eat.
Right.
How do you come up with the different combinations? Because I know we're going to talk about the Florentine offering lobster and caviar pizza. Yeah. How do you come up with different combinations? Is it just trial and error, or are you laying in bed one night thinking, you know what, I'm going to put lobster and caviar on the pizza and see how that tastes?
So I'm coming into an operation. The Florentine has been around for 10 years. So I have to stay true to the concept of the restaurant, which is Italian. But it's also, how do I expand on Italian? How can I go regional and more Mediterranean? How do I incorporate other flavors so I'm not just another spaghetti and pasta restaurant? Mm-hmm. And it really, everything we do in the restaurant is, how do we separate ourselves from the cattle? How do we make ourselves better? So how do I make a better pizza than ever? So we still have the standard pizzas, but then we have a couple of really interesting pizzas, like the lobster and caviar. I just want something that's here's our baseline, but here's our at the next level. And we do that for everything on the menu. Like chicken parmesan, as soon as I got to the restaurant, I took that off the menu. But Then I took a whole Amish chicken, I boned it, and we do a whole Amish chicken parmesan instead of just a pounded out, lazy chicken breast.
Right.
Amish sold separately. Executive chef at the Florentine, Jason Hedin's here. Nick, you're a cook.
Well, do things come and go with, I guess the question would be, is there seasonal items then in a situation? I mean, you just described how you took the parm off the menu. You've introduced chicken. And I would guess that a lot of restaurants do a seasonal thing as certain produce
or is
certain
that
things
hacky?
are available, or is that hacky?
Oh, no. Seasonality is extremely important. I mean, if you want to be a quality restaurant, you can't be running heirloom tomatoes in December.
So you have to respect
Sure.
You have to respect the supply chain, the line.
Absolutely. Seasonality, is the expression of the chef. So as we move into, squash season and apple season, you want to start incorporating, great local ingredients into your menu to really be respectful of the environment. And, you want to be respectful of yourself.
So on that same token, then, as we get into winter, when people think of more heavier, comforting dishes, what changes where you are at?
Exactly. So the chicken parm is a great winter, fall dish. Going into doing some braises, ossobuco is an extremely traditional Italian dish, but something I want to do is a whole oxtail ossobuco. So you're going to get this massive platter instead of just the boring old braised veal shank that everybody does.
And that really pisses off the ox.
It doesn't tickle. It doesn't tickle.
That's the thing you have to keep in mind. Andre, a quick one before the break, and then we'll take a quick break. We come back. And then we got to ask you about the pizza you were mentioning, the lobster.
I know Hell's Kitchen's a competition, but you are a renowned chef. You've studied all over the world. Chicago seems like a very community-oriented city. We were talking about Ryan Poley. You're like, oh, he's a great chef.
Yes.
Is that how do we compare to the rest of the world? And is it as close as a community within the chefs? Among the chefs?
I'll tell you this. I keep leaving Chicago, and I keep coming back to Chicago. Like, I left Chicago for Aspen a year ago, and, a year later, I came back. Chicago is an amazing city. Hands down, the best food scene in the country right now. A lot of people will say New York, but I think New York is still stuck in the early 2000s. And just the quality of humans here is so much better than other places I've been. I loved Australia, but, when I came back to Chicago, it was just like, it's good to be back.
Everything tastes like kangaroo in Australia.
No.
That's what you don't know. We've got a couple more minutes here with the executive chef at the Florentine, Jason Hedin. Reservations recommended?
Always, but we'll make room for you.
All right. So best way to do it online or on the phone? You have human beings?
We do have human beings. It's very important, but online is easiest, but there's nothing like the human contact of calling in.
Website's Florentine.com?
Yes, sir.
The Florentine, yes? TheFlorentine.com. All right, Andre, talk about this pizza.
Okay, we talked about the caviar and the lobster, but you were making references to pepperoni and margarita.
I mean, margarita is your baseline pizza. If you can't do a margarita, exceptional, you need to rethink your life because,
Well, explain what a good margarita pizza is. It's crust and tomatoes and what?
It's not. It's great buffalo mozzarella. It's fresh basil. So we cook our margarita pizza with basil, and then when it comes out of the oven, we put more fresh basil on top. So you get the infusion of the basil as it's cooking, which really brings the oils out of the basil and infuses the pizza, and then you get great fresh basil on top. And then all of our pizzas are brushed with roasted garlic oil on the crust to really set it apart. And then we sprinkle Malden salt on the crust before it goes to our guests. So it's just taking all these little steps of like seasoning as you make a dish and just applying that to a pizza that people don't normally do. And it really, it makes a difference.
And the Florentine Pizza of the Month, lobster and caviar. Oh, that again. I see these pizzas when you come up with the ideas based on Andrea's question. It's almost like somebody writing a song. There's an inspiration for it. You're not just throwing stuff against the wall.
I mean, not at all.
The pizza is your lyrics.
So, in 20 years of cooking, you sort of understand different flavor combinations. You know what goes well together. So, a lot of people are like, fish or seafood and cheese don't go together. And, you think of pizza and you think of cheese. So instead of using cheese, we're using, we make fromage blanc as the base. So there's no tomato sauce, but fromage blanc is like a spreadable French white sauce almost. and then we put our lobster on top and we bake it with ricotta. And I know ricotta, people think is cheese, but it's just coagulated milk solids in the end. So it's not really just
Wasn't that a
cheese.
band I was in, the Coagulated Milk Solids?
Oh, good for you.
That was my stripper name.
No, exactly.
Oh, well, you're doing it right.
You're doing it right is right.
Yeah.
And again, it's theflorentine.com. Tom or Miranda, last chance. Anything for our friend here. This is your opportunity. Your inside line to Hell's Kitchen.
All right. I wanted to ask, and this is a fairly serious question. The last couple of years have been incredibly difficult for the service industry, restaurants, bars, what have you. How has the taste of guests changed, and how have you guys adapted to this new world where maybe people aren't going out so much as they did pre-pandemic?
I would say people are more interested in quality and interesting food these days more than the normalcy of, getting spaghetti and marinara every day. I'm really shocked at how accepting, and excited our guests are over these different and more adventurous items I've been putting on the menu. And it's been really nice. And also I think people are less sticker shocked on prices because after COVID, the price of food along with everything in the world has increased. So that needs to reflect, appropriately. And, people have been very understanding and accepting. So it's been a pleasant surprise how the culture has evolved from different aspects to how our industry has had to evolve in order to survive.
It's great to meet you.
It's a pleasure.
Appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Jason.